All right, today we're tackling a pretty wild idea from John Taylor Gatto. His whole argument is that the American school system, well, it has a totally different purpose than what we've all been told. So let's jump right in.
Okay, let's just start with this bombshell of a question, because it's really the core of Gatto's entire argument. What if school? What if it was never actually designed to make you smarter? I mean, what if its main goal was something else entirely? Look, we all kind of grow up with this story, right? That public school is this wonderful, benevolent force for good. It's supposed to lift everybody up, empower us as individuals. And you know what? That's a beautiful idea, and a lot of amazing teachers work towards that every single day. But Gatto's research, it suggests the very foundations of the system were built for something completely different.
And this is what makes his whole critique so powerful. I mean, where did it come from? This isn't some outsider just throwing stones. No, this is a highly decorated insider, a guy who started to question the very system that was giving him awards.
So this is the guy, John Taylor Gatto. After 3 decades teaching in New York City, he was named New York State Teacher of the Year. Pretty impressive, right? But it was actually that experience, being at the top of his game, that pushed him to dig into the real history of the institution he was a part of. And all that digging led to his book, The Underground History of American Education.
And this quote right here, it just cuts straight to the bone of his argument. He says schools are engineered not just to teach stuff, but to mold conformity, suppress individuality, and perpetuate a compliant workforce. Whoa. So Gatto's point is that the system isn't broken. Not at all. It's actually working perfectly, just not for the reasons we think. So where did this design even come from?
Okay, to really get what Gatto is talking about, we have to hop in a time machine and go way back to the 19th century. This was a huge turning point, a moment when American education took a sharp turn and basically imported a model from overseas that would change, well, everything.
You can really see the difference here. Back in early America, education was, a local thing. It was informal, flexible, and it served the actual needs of the community. But then in the 1800s, a bunch of American reformers looked over at Prussia, a place known for its super efficient military, and they thought, hey, now that's a model we can use to organize the whole country.
And this is the crucial part. The Prussian model wasn't really about lighting a fire in each individual student's mind. Nope. It was about creating a population that was easy to manage. The state, not your local community, would decide what you learned. The curriculum would be the same everywhere you went. The whole goal was to produce citizens who were predictable, obedient, and frankly useful for the country's economic and political goals.
And this leads us to what is maybe Gatto's most powerful and kind of chilling metaphor. The idea that modern schools were basically designed to work like factories, but instead of making widgets, they were making people. And when you lay it out like this, it's pretty hard to ignore the parallels. Think about it. The brand new Industrial Revolution needed a totally new kind of worker. They needed people to show up on time, so what do schools do? They introduce bells to chop up the day. They needed people who would just follow orders without question. So schools enforced super strict rules. And they needed people who could stomach doing the same boring, repetitive thing for 8 hours a day. So the curriculum got standardized and broken into these little separate subjects. According to Gatto, none of this was an accident. It wasn't just a coincidence. This was a deliberate design. School became the training ground, not for a rich intellectual life, but for a life spent in a factory or an office, getting kids used to the idea of a life that would be managed by someone else. So this all brings us to the real heart of Gatto's message. He argues that we've mixed up two things that are actually polar opposites, and he says that understanding this difference is the absolute key to taking back our own intellectual freedom. He draws this really sharp line in the sand. On one side, you have schooling. That's what the system gives you. And on the other side, you have education, which is what he argues we actually need to be fully realized human beings. And here's the breakdown. Schooling, in Gatto's world, is all about fitting in, being obedient, and following directions. It's about being managed. True education, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. It's about learning how to think critically, nurturing what makes you unique, and figuring out how to think for yourself. It's not about being managed, it's about learning to manage yourself. So as we wrap up this look at Gatto's thesis, he really leaves us with this provocative and super personal question. It's not just a question about the system out there, it's about our own lives, our own learning. He's basically forcing us to ask ourselves, are the habits,
and maybe the limitations we picked up from all those years of schooling actually getting in the way of our true education.